Over 1.5 million visa holders in Australia could be forced to pack their bags and leave, all because of the shocking new immigration rules introduced in November 2025. Yes, you heard that right. Even people who've lived, studied, and worked in the country for years are now at serious risk of losing their right to stay. But here's the twist. Many don't even know it yet. What's changing? Who's being targeted? And why is the government suddenly tightening the screws on migrants across the board? From visa cancellations and point system shakeups, to rising costs and surprise rejections, these updates are not just paperwork changes, they're life-changing. If you or someone you know is living in Australia on a visa, this video could be the most important thing you watch today. Stay till the end, because we're revealing 10 critical reasons why millions may soon be saying goodbye to Australia. Number 10. Pathway to PR is more uncertain than ever. For years, Australia was seen as a land of opportunity, a place where hard work, education, and community contribution could eventually earn you permanent residency, PR. But in 2025, that dream has become more uncertain than ever. Under the newly updated immigration rules, even skilled migrants who tick every box, from age and education to work experience and English proficiency, are finding themselves stuck in limbo or facing outright rejection without a clear reason. Why is this happening? One major shift is the introduction of the National Interest Test, a vague and loosely defined condition that gives immigration authorities the power to reject applications based on what they determine is in the best interest of the country. But what does that even mean? For many applicants, it's a mystery, and it's being used more frequently to filter out even high-scoring candidates. Another factor is the constant policy changes and sudden rule updates, often without warning. Migration pathways that seemed open a year ago have either closed or been restructured, leaving thousands who were preparing for PR now completely lost. The government is also placing more emphasis on income levels, regional placements, and occupations deemed priority, while offering little clarity on how these priorities are actually chosen. Even those on permanent pathways like subclass 482 and 491 visa holders are discovering that their timelines are being extended, requirements changed, or conditions tightened. For families, this uncertainty can be devastating, especially when it involves children who have spent most of their lives in Australia. If you're aiming for PR, it's never been more important to stay informed, consult a registered migration agent, and have backup options. Because in today's immigration system, even doing everything right might not be enough. Number 9. Regional workers face return orders. Imagine spending years working in a remote Australian town, building a life, contributing to the local economy, only to receive a letter telling you it's time to leave. That's the harsh reality now facing many regional visa holders under Australia's new immigration rules. The government has tightened its monitoring and enforcement of regional migration programs, and those who don't meet every condition of their visa are being hit with return orders or facing visa cancellations. Under the updated policies, visa holders on subclasses like 491 and 494, which require them to live and work in designated regional areas, must now prove continuous compliance. That means demonstrating not just residence, but active employment in your nominated occupation, sometimes for years. If you're caught living in a metropolitan area, even temporarily, or if your work hours drop below the required threshold, it could be seen as a breach of visa conditions. The government is using more advanced tracking systems, including data matching with tax records and real-time employer checks, to monitor compliance. Even minor lapses can now trigger a warning or worse, a direction to leave. Some migrants have reported receiving notifications within weeks of moving for personal reasons, like taking care of family or seeking better job opportunities, only to face visa penalties. This crackdown is particularly affecting industries like agriculture, aged care, and hospitality, where workers often face unstable hours and job shortages. Many of these workers moved to regional areas under the promise of a clearer path to PR, only to find that even small missteps could derail their plans entirely. If you're a regional worker, it's crucial to document your employment, track your address history, and get legal help if things change. Because in 2025, being in the right place and proving it could mean the difference between staying or leaving Australia. Number 8. Limited family visa sponsorships. For many migrants, The hope of reuniting with loved ones in Australia is what keeps them going. But under the latest immigration rules introduced in November 2025, that hope is slipping further out of reach. The government has significantly reduced the number of family visa sponsorships, particularly for partner, parent, and child visas, leaving thousands of families caught in heartbreaking delays or flat-out refusals. One of the biggest changes is the tightened sponsorship eligibility criteria. Australian residents and citizens now need to meet higher income thresholds, provide extensive documentation proving their relationship, and even undergo character checks before being approved to sponsor a family member. These changes are being justified as a way to protect the integrity of the immigration system, but for many families, they feel more like unfair barriers. Additionally, the government has placed strict quotas on certain family visa streams, especially parent visas, which already had some of the longest wait times in the world, sometimes over 10 years. Now, with fewer spots available and priority being given to offshore applications, even those who followed the rules and submitted complete paperwork are being pushed further down the list. The impact is deeply personal. People are being forced to choose between building a life in Australia or staying close to their families overseas. Some are living apart from their spouses for years, while others are missing key moments in their children's lives. First steps, graduations, even weddings. If you're planning to bring a loved one to Australia, you need to act strategically. Get professional advice, prepare all your documents early, and consider alternative visa pathways, such as regional family sponsorships. Because under the 2025 rules, family reunification is no longer guaranteed. It's a race against policy changes, quotas, and time. Number 7. Focus on high-income skilled workers only. In a bold shift that's leaving many behind, Australia's immigration policy in 2025 is now heavily focused on attracting only high-income skilled workers, and the consequences are already being felt across the country. Under the new rules, applicants who earn less than 70,000 Australian dollars per year are being quietly filtered out, regardless of their skills, experience, or how long they've contributed to Australian society. This move is part of the government's push to build a future-focused workforce, prioritizing tech professionals, engineers, medical experts, and financial specialists. Essentially, roles that come with high salaries and are considered economically strategic. But here's the problem. It's leaving out thousands of essential workers, including aged care staff, farm laborers, hospitality workers, and tradespeople, who are just as critical to the functioning of everyday Australia. These are people who have filled job shortages for years, especially in regional and rural areas, often under tough conditions. Yet now, because they don't meet the new income benchmark, their visa renewals, permanent residency applications, or even employer sponsorships are being rejected or delayed. The message is clear. If you're not in a high-paying role, you may no longer be welcome. What makes this change even more alarming is the lack of clarity. Many applicants don't realize they're affected until their applications are returned or additional documentation is demanded, often with little explanation. Some skilled workers are even being told to find higher-paying jobs within months or face deportation. If you're in a lower-income profession, it's now more important than ever to upskill, explore regional opportunities, or look into alternative visa subclasses that don't have income-based filters. Because in today's immigration system, it's not just about what you do, it's about how much you earn. Number 6. Mandatory health and character rechecks. One of the most unsettling changes in Australia's 2025 immigration policy is the introduction of mandatory health and character rechecks, even for visa holders who have been living in the country for years without any issues. Previously, most migrants only needed to pass these checks once during their initial application. But now, under the new rules, repeat assessments are required at various stages, especially when renewing visas or applying for permanent residency. This means that even if you've lived in Australia for 5, 10, or even 15 years, you could suddenly be asked to prove again that you're in good health and have maintained a clean criminal record, both in Australia and your country of origin. And yes, even minor offenses, such as traffic violations or old charges that were previously overlooked, are now being flagged under the updated system. The health assessments have also become more rigorous, with a growing focus on chronic conditions, mental health, and long-term medical costs. If authorities believe that your health condition could place a significant burden on the Australian healthcare system, your application could be refused, even if you've been a taxpayer for years and actively contribute to the community. Character checks, too, have taken a sharper turn. Migrants are now being scrutinized for social media activity, associations with certain groups, or even family connections that raise red flags under security protocols. It's a level of surveillance that many believe goes too far and is catching people off guard. For visa holders, this adds a heavy layer of anxiety. One unexpected medical result or a background check from years ago could derail everything. If you're on a temporary or bridging visa, start preparing early. Keep medical records up to date and ensure your legal and personal conduct is beyond question, because in 2025, even your past can come back to haunt your future in Australia. Number 5. Increased cost of visa applications. One of the most immediate and painful changes for migrants in 2025 is the sharp increase in visa application costs. With some fees rising by as much as 40%, the dream of living, working, or studying in Australia is becoming financially out of reach for many. What used to be a manageable expense is now a major financial burden, especially for families or individuals applying for multiple visas or renewals. For example, the base application fee for popular skilled visas like the subclass 189 or 190 has jumped from around $4,000 Australian dollars to nearly $6,000 AUD. Add on dependents, health checks, police clearances, and mandatory English tests, and a standard visa application can now cost well over $10,000 AUD. That's before you even consider legal or migration agent fees, which have also surged in response to more complex paperwork and changing regulations. International students, who already pay premium tuition fees, are now facing higher charges for student visas and extensions, making Australia a less attractive study destination. For low-income workers, casual employees, and families supporting multiple applications, this financial pressure is forcing difficult choices, like postponing applications, leaving loved ones behind, or giving up on migration altogether. The government claims the price hikes are necessary to cover administrative improvements and system upgrades, but many believe it's a deterrent strategy, subtly discouraging certain groups from applying or staying. It's hitting hardest where it hurts most: migrant families, students, and essential workers, who may already be struggling with rising living costs and inflation. If you're planning to apply or renew your visa, start budgeting early. Look into payment plans, check for fee exemptions, and consult with a professional. Because in 2025, even before your visa is approved, you're already paying a steep price for the chance to stay in Australia. Number 4. Crackdown on student visa fraud. In 2025, one of the biggest shakeups in Australia's immigration system is the aggressive crackdown on student visa fraud, and it's sending shockwaves through the international education sector. While the government claims it's targeting visa system abuse, thousands of genuine students are now getting caught in the crossfire, with visa rejections, sudden cancellations, and even deportations on the rise. So what's going on? Authorities have identified a surge in applications linked to so-called ghost colleges, education providers that exist mainly on paper and offer little to no real education, used by some as a backdoor into the country for work or long-term stay. In response, the government has not only shut down dozens of these institutions, but also introduced tougher vetting procedures for all student visa applicants. Now, students must prove that they are genuinely enrolling for study, not just using the visa to live and work in Australia. This includes showing sufficient financial resources, academic intentions, and a clear post-study plan. Even minor inconsistencies in documentation or vague responses during visa interviews are leading to automatic rejections under the new Genuine Student Test (GST) framework. Worse still, if your college loses its registration while you're studying, your visa could be instantly canceled, leaving you in limbo or worse, forced to leave the country. This has already happened to hundreds of students in late 2025, many of whom had no idea their institution was under scrutiny. If you're an international student, it's now more important than ever to research your institution, ensure it's on the CRICO's register, and prepare your application with full transparency. The government is watching more closely than ever, and in 2025, being a genuine student is no longer just about enrolling. It's about proving your intentions, plans, and purpose every step of the way. Number 3. Point system overhaul. If you're planning to apply for skilled migration to Australia, brace yourself, because the points-based immigration system has gone through a major overhaul in 2025, and it's changing the game for thousands of applicants. The system that once gave hope to many skilled workers worldwide is now more competitive, more selective, and, according to critics, more confusing than ever before. At the heart of this change is a rebalancing of how points are awarded. Age and English language skills still matter, but now, greater weight is being placed on factors like regional employment, high salary thresholds, and advanced degrees in priority fields such as health, engineering, and AI. For example, applicants working in regional Australia can now score up to 20 additional points, while those in metro areas may find it harder to reach the minimum threshold. This might sound like a great opportunity for some, but for many, especially those over the age of 35 or in non-priority occupations, it's become much harder to qualify. Points that were once awarded for simply having a degree or work experience abroad are now reduced or removed unless they're closely aligned with Australia's current economic goals. The goal? To create a migration intake that's younger, regionally focused, and economically beneficial, but it comes at a cost to diversity and fairness. Even more frustrating is the lack of transparency in how certain points are calculated or how policy updates are communicated. Some applicants are finding that their scores suddenly drop after rule changes, without warning. Others are told to resubmit new expression of interest (OI) forms just months after submitting the previous one. To stay competitive, migrants now need to strategically boost their profiles, take additional certifications, move to regional areas, or even change occupations. Because in 2025, the point system is no longer just a checklist, it's a moving target. Number 2, temporary visas being phased out. One of the most dramatic shifts in Australia's 2025 immigration reforms is the gradual phasing out of temporary visas, a move that could leave hundreds of thousands of migrants without a clear path forward. For years, temporary visas like the temporary graduate, subclass 485, temporary skill shortage, subclass 482, and even some student and working holiday visas have served as stepping stones toward permanent residency. But now, the government is taking a hard turn, pushing for a system that prioritizes permanent migration upfront, and it's creating massive uncertainty for those already on temporary pathways. Officials argue that temporary visas have led to a permanently temporary population, people who live and work in Australia for years but remain in visa limbo, without stability or rights. To fix this, the government is reducing the availability and duration of many temporary visa types, tightening renewal conditions, and limiting transition pathways to PR. For example, international graduates once had up to 4 years post-study to gain work experience and apply for skilled migration. That window has now shrunk, with stricter job relevance checks and regional requirements. Likewise, the subclass 482 visa now demands higher salaries, faster PR timelines, or proof of long-term workforce need, pushing many lower-tier jobs off the list entirely. The result? Many temporary residents who have built lives in Australia, working, studying, even raising families, are now facing the possibility of forced departure once their visa expires. Even those who plan to apply for PR may find their options suddenly closed due to updated occupation lists or regional caps. If you're on a temporary visa, this is the time to act fast and smart. Talk to a registered migration agent, explore regional sponsorships, and make sure you understand your eligibility before your time runs out. Because in 2025, being temporary in Australia may no longer mean you have time to stay. Number 1. Stricter visa renewal criteria. In 2025, one of the most immediate and alarming changes in Australia's immigration policy is the introduction of stricter visa renewal criteria, a move that's catching many migrants off guard. Previously, renewing your visa was often seen as a straightforward process, especially if you had been complying with the conditions and contributing to society. But under the new rules, renewing your visa has become a complex, high-stakes challenge with tighter eligibility checks, higher income requirements, and more detailed documentation than ever before. Now, visa holders must prove they meet specific income thresholds, maintain consistent employment in an approved occupation, and often demonstrate improved English proficiency, even if they've already been living and working in Australia for years. For some, This means retaking English language tests or resubmitting qualifications that were previously accepted. For others, it could mean facing rejection due to minor job gaps, visa condition breaches, or not meeting the new financial standards. One of the most significant updates is the requirement to show a stable employment history, especially for those on temporary skill or graduate visas. If your job is considered casual, part-time, or not directly related to your nominated occupation, your renewal application may be declined. The government's goal is to prioritize migrants who are not just working, but who are contributing at a higher economic level. Additionally, background and character checks are being repeated during the renewal process, with authorities now scanning deeper into applicants' histories. Even a small issue, such as an expired document or a late tax filing, can delay or even derail your renewal. If your visa is up for renewal soon, don't assume it will be as simple as last time. Start preparing now by gathering financial records, verifying your employment status, and updating all necessary documents. Because in 2025, renewing your visa isn't just a process, it's a test of whether you still qualify to stay. Australia's immigration landscape is undergoing a massive transformation, and for millions of migrants, these changes are more than just policy updates. They're deeply personal, life-altering shifts that could determine whether they can continue calling Australia home. From stricter visa renewal requirements to the phasing out of temporary visas, and from skyrocketing application fees to the crackdown on student visa fraud, it's clear that the government is tightening its grip on who gets to stay, who qualifies to arrive, and who must leave. These 10 critical reasons we've discussed are not isolated issues. They're part of a broader effort to reshape the future of Australia's migration system. While the focus is shifting toward high-income, highly skilled individuals, many hardworking migrants, students, and families who have already contributed so much are being left behind, often without warning or support. So what can you do? Stay informed. Stay prepared. The rules are changing fast, and being proactive is now more important than ever. Speak to a registered migration agent, explore alternative visa pathways, and make sure you fully understand your rights, obligations, and options. If this video helped you understand what's really happening behind the headlines, don't forget to like, subscribe, and share it with others who might be affected. Have questions or want us to cover a specific visa type in a future video? Drop a comment below, we read everyone. Also, check out our next video, Top 5 Easiest Visas to Get in Australia, 2025 edition. It could be the opportunity you've been looking for. And remember, while these updates can be overwhelming, knowledge is your greatest power. Stay smart, stay ready, and protect your future in Australia.